You're lying in total darkness, no walls around you, no lock on the door, no light switch. Somewhere out there something is moving. And it's bigger than you. That's not a horror movie premise. That was Tuesday night for a human being living 10,000 years ago. We think of ancient fears as primitive, superstitious, childish. But when you actually look at what those people were up against, the predators, the diseases, the dead, the sky itself, you realize something uncomfortable. Some of those fears were completely rational, and some of them, we never actually got rid of them. Today, we're going back 10,000 years to the Neolithic, the New Stone Age, the moment humanity was just beginning to figure out farming. Just starting to build the first permanent villages. And we're going to answer one question: what kept them awake at night? Let's start with the most obvious one: darkness. Being afraid of the dark is in essence a fear of the unknown. We can't see what's out there, and our imagination fills in the worst possible thing. For ancient humans, it wasn't monsters. It was lions, it was wolves. It was things with teeth that genuinely wanted to eat them. And here's the part that people forget. Many predators that threatened early humans were most dangerous at night. Exactly when humans were most vulnerable, when our eyesight became almost useless. So the darkness wasn't just uncomfortable, it was dangerous. Think about that. You're sitting in a Neolithic settlement in what is now Syria or Turkey. You've got a fire. Beyond that fire is a wall of black, and out there in that black are lions, hyenas, wolves, bears, animals that could kill a human in seconds. Over generations, this nightly terror became instinctual. It got wired into our nervous systems, and we still carry it today. That's why you feel uneasy walking to your car in an empty parking garage at 2 mh. That feeling isn't completely irrational, it's ancient. But here's the psychological twist. The darkness wasn't just feared because of physical predators. Without science, without knowledge of the natural world, early people had to explain every sound, every shadow, every unexplained movement somehow. A branch breaking in the dark, a shape moving beyond the fire, a strange cry from the forest. To them, darkness wasn't simply the absence of light, it was a whole world full of danger. Danger that could not be seen and could not be understood. Fire became everything, not just warmth, not just cooking. Fire was a psychological fortress, the boundary between the known and the unknown, the line between safety and death. But let's talk about those predators more specifically, because this wasn't abstract fear, this was a daily negotiation with extinction. For most of human history, people lived exposed and vulnerable. They slept in caves, under simple shelters, near trees, or around open fires. They were clever, they had tools, they had groups. But they were still soft, slow, and fragile compared to many animals around them. 10,000 years ago, the world looked different. Large predators still shaped the landscape. Big cats, wolves, hyenas, bears, and other dangerous animals competed with humans for space and food. In some parts of the world, the memory of even larger Ice Age beasts was still fresh. Humans were not always the top of the food chain. Sometimes they were prey, and that changes everything. Imagine hearing something outside your shelter at night. You can't check your phone. You can't turn on a flashlight. You can't lock the door. You just listen, and you hope the fire is enough. That kind of fear doesn't disappear quickly. It becomes part of the body. It becomes instinct. Even today, large predators trigger deep emotional reactions in USG, a lion, a wolf, a bear, a snake. We don't have to be taught to respect them. Something inside us already knows. Snakes are especially interesting. Many people are afraid of snakes even if they've never been bitten, never lived near dangerous snakes, and never had a real reason to fear them. But for ancient humans, that reflex could save your life. A fast reaction to a snake shape in the grass meant survival. A slow reaction could mean death. So our brains learn to notice danger quickly, maybe too quickly. That's why modern humans can panic over things that are not actually life-threatening. Our fear system was not built for emails, bills, deadlines, or social media. It was built for teeth in the dark. Here's one that might surprise you. One of the deepest fears of early humans was not only fear of living things, it was fear of the dead. Death was everywhere in the ancient world. People died from infection, injury, childbirth, hunger, violence, and disease. But death was not just a biological event. It was a mystery. A person who had been breathing yesterday was suddenly still today. Their body remained, but something was gone. Nobody knew where that something went. Nobody knew if it could come back. In many ancient cultures, people feared that the dead might return, not as a memory, not as a dream, but physically, as something between living and dead. Archaeologists have found strange burials from prehistoric and Neolithic sites, bodies weighed down with stones, bodies placed in unusual positions, bodies treated in ways that suggest people were afraid of what might happen after burial. To us, that can sound like superstition, but imagine it from their point of view. A person dies, then another person gets sick, then another. The village doesn't understand bacteria. It doesn't understand viruses. It doesn't understand tuberculosis or infection or contaminated water. All they know is this: someone died, and now death seems to be spreading. To a Neolithic mind, it could look like the dead were not truly gone. Maybe they were angry. Maybe they were hungry. Maybe something from the grave was reaching back into the world of the living. So burial rituals became incredibly important. They were not just about respect. They were about protection. They were about keeping order between the living and the dead. And in a strange way, those rituals helped people survive emotionally. They gave structure to grief. They gave people something to do when there was nothing else they could control. When you can't stop death, you create rituals around it. You bury, you mourn, you remember. You place stones. You speak words. You try to make the unknown less terrifying, and that fear never really left us either. Even today, dead bodies make people uncomfortable. Graveyards at night feel different from parks at night. Stories about ghosts and zombies still work because they touch something ancient inside us. The dead are gone, but some part of the human mind is never completely sure. Then there was nature itself. Thunder, lightning, eclipses draw flood fire from the sky, water from the river. A sun that disappears, a moon that turns red. For us, these are natural events. For early humans, they were messages, warnings, signs that something powerful was angry. And when people began farming, fear of nature became even stronger. A hunter-gatherer could move if one place became dangerous or empty. But a farmer was tied to the land. The field mattered. The rain mattered. The season mattered. One bad summer could destroy everything. One drought could mean starvation. One flood could erase a village. One frost could kill the food before it grew. Agriculture did not make life peaceful. It created new kinds of fear. Imagine planting seeds and then waiting, not knowing if the sky would give you rain. Imagine watching clouds pass without dropping water. Imagine seeing your crops turn yellow while your children ask for food. You would pray too. You would make offerings too. You would look at the sky and wonder what it wanted from you. This is why early religious beliefs were so closely connected to nature: wind, rain, thunder, animals, fertility, harvest. These were not abstract ideas. They were survival. People created rituals to ask for rain, to protect crops, to keep away disease, to bring fertility, to calm the forces they could not control. Maybe those rituals didn't change the weather, but they changed how people felt. They gave them a sense of action in a world that often made them helpless. Around this time, humans also began building permanent villages that changed the way they saw the world. There was now an inside and an outside. Inside the village were fires, families, food, walls, familiar faces. Outside was darkness, animals, strangers, forests, spirits, and unknown land. That division shaped the human imagination, the safe human world here, the dangerous, mysterious world out there. And from that border, gods and spirits became easier to imagine, powerful beings beyond the village, beings that controlled rain, animals, death, birth, and the terrifying forces of nature. Places like Göbekli Tepe show how deep this need was. Thousands of years before cities, writing, or metal tools, people were already building massive ritual spaces. They carved animals into stone. They gathered around symbols. They created sacred places in a world full of fear. Maybe those monuments were not just temples. Maybe they were attempts to negotiate with the unknown. But as people settled into villages, another fear began to grow. A fear that would become one of the most powerful forces in human history. Fear of other people. When humans lived in small nomadic groups, strangers existed, but encounters were limited. Groups moved, resources were spread out, conflict happened, but permanent borders were rare. Farming changed that. Now people had fields, stored food, homes, animals, territory. Something to defend, something to lose. A stranger was no longer just a stranger. He might be a thief, a raider, a scout, a warning that more people were coming. The group on the hill could mean trade, or it could mean death. The village beyond the river could be a neighbor or an enemy waiting for harvest when your food stores were full. As communities grew, fear of conflict became part of daily life. People began to build defenses. They formed stronger leadership. They depended on warriors, chiefs, and powerful individuals who could protect the group when danger came. Fear helped create authority in dangerous times. People follow those who seem strong enough to keep them alive. This fear of outsiders left a deep mark on us. Even today, humans are quick to divide the world into us and them, our group and their group, our people and the strangers. Sometimes that instinct protects us, as sometimes it destroys you. So what did humans fear 10,000 years ago? They feared the dark because real predators moved inside it. They feared animals because those animals could kill them. They feared the dead because disease and death looked like something returning from the grave. They feared nature because one drought or flood could end everything. And they feared each other because once humans settled down and began competing for resources, other people became one of the greatest dangers of all. Here's the part that should make you stop and think. We live in a world with walls, locks, lights, medicine, phones, police, hospitals, weather forecasts, and supermarkets. We are safer than most humans in history could ever imagine. And yet we are still anxious constantly. We scroll through news at 3 a.m. We catastrophize over emails. We imagine disasters that never happen. We lie awake staring at the ceiling, feeling that something is wrong even when nothing is actually attacking us. Because our fear response is still being run by ancient machinery. It was built for a world of lions, darkness, disease, dead bodies, storms, hunger, and raiding neighbors, not office deadlines. not social media. The fears haven't gone anywhere, they just changed their costume. Subscribe if you want to go deeper into the psychology of ancient human behavior. And drop a comment. Which of these ancient fears do you think still runs your life today, without you even realizing it?